Eugene's 58-acre Hendricks Forest is under increased strain from the worsening effects of climate change. The 2019 snowstorm and 2020 fires have stimulated discussion regarding the future of the forest, particularly as it is Douglas Fir dominated. The Hendricks Forest Team of the Environmental Leadership Program have dedicated 10 weeks to assessing the health of its trees, categorized by diameter at breast height as medium, large, and big. 13 students collected data including tree diameter, canopy position, species, soil type, crown measurements, vigor, wildlife use, ivy presence of fungi, insect damage, and location using GPS coordinates. Each category helps to describe the health of any one particular tree. A tree with high crown dieback, fungi present, and greater than 30 beetle boreholes indicates the tree is in poor health. This could be due to the soil type, elevation, slope, and/or proximity to other trees in poor health. Photo points were also collected as a reference for continual monitoring in each of the 37 designated units. Our research and analysis will help to inform the City of Eugene in the development of its next forest management plan.
The program RStudio was used to establish the topographic map. It provides a visual representation of the forest's ecology via spatial distributions. The topographic map was needed to identify the varying altitudes of the forest. Altitude relates to factors such as soil type, rainfall, and humidity data, all of which influence the types of species present and determine the relative health of the overall forest. For example, if the number of large trees were to decrease, there would be a shift in species composition and less of a carbon sink to store carbon emissions. This would then worsen climate change because there is not enough oxygen in the air.
To better interpret our data, we constructed 3 different graphics that each give us a better insight into the trends throughout the park. Using measurements such as crown density, crown dieback, and live crown ratio, we're able to infer which portions and management units of the park are doing the best and are the healthiest, and which are struggling the most and need to be focus areas. Both Figure 4 and Figure 5 help us get deeper insight into the overall health of a unit based on the averages of specific measurements. Using these 2 charts, we've been able to pick out units such as 22 and units 25 through 27 as problem areas because of such a high level of crown dieback and also such a low level of live crown ratio. Figure 6, our final graph, unlike the other 2, give us insight into the age of the trees through the diameter at breast height. We can glean from this graph that a majority of the trees we have measured in our management units are between 36.2 and 48.5 inches.
Hendricks Forest is expected to persist as a Douglas Fir dominant forest for the foreseeable future, but its characteristics are likely to be altered by climate change and insect damage. According to our data, most of the trees in the park are not at risk of uprooting or falling by wind, but are at risk of damage by Douglas fir beetles. Because these beetles utilize dead Douglas fir trees for reproduction, it is recommended that if these trees die within the park, that they be destroyed so as to speed up decomposition and prevent the beetles from using them for habitat. Because fallen dead trees are essential to the forest nutrient cycle, it is suggested that deciduous trees instead be felled, with an emphasis on non-native sweet cherry trees. In general, the forest canopy should be allowed to open up to encourage a greater diversity of understory species, but if a large gap occurs and tree planting is considered desirable, alternative species of trees should be selected, namely coniferous grand fir and western hemlock, and deciduous Oregon white oak. Because Hendricks Forest is relatively dense and contains a high fuel load, it is at risk for a catastrophic wildfire event. If such an event were to occur, it is recommended that the dead Douglas fir trees be felled and removed, and an oak savanna habitat be restored in its place. This is because oak savanna habitat is the most threatened ecosystem in Oregon, and is relatively resistant to drought and wildfire. Because such a restoration effort is highly intensive, research should be conducted to establish best practices and a contingency plan in case this event were to occur.